Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight, the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock that I've been loving, that I want to share with you guys, that I think if you have similar tastes in music as me, that you will definitely love and want to check out. So hopefully you appreciate these recommendations and reviews and you go out and seek out the music on your own if what I describe in the video is something to your liking or something that sparks your interest. And today I have a super great album to talk about, one of the best of the year in my estimation. This is Ritual's new album, The Story of Mr. Bogd, Part 1. It's a fantastic record coming out on Charisma Records, who are just killing it lately. This is a band from Stockholm, Sweden that formed way back in 1993. One of the premier 90s to early 2000s progressive rock bands with a symphonic undertone, similar to other bands in Sweden like Kaipa and the Flower Kings. They really came to prominence for me when they came out with their album in 2007, the Hemulik Voluntary Band, which that was right in the heat of when I was really getting into a lot of modern prog stuff. So that was an album that was on pretty constant rotation. And consequently, that's the last album they released until this one. So it's been quite a big hiatus for the group. 17 years, I believe that would be. So a big gap between albums here, but we're finally back with them, and it seems like the wait was worth it. It seems like the band really honed their craft on this album and really wanted to make it perfect and create something really special, and that's what we have here. And I like Ritual because they combine a lot of cool folky elements to their music. They have that symphonic prog undertone. They definitely harken back to the classics of the genre. I think about Yes, I think about Gentle Giant in a lot of ways. I think about Jethro Tull with that folkiness. But they bring this cool folk music sensibility that I think is really unique to them. They bring about different instrumentation that showcases a different side to the band with acoustic instruments like violin, mandolin, bouzouki, really cool melodic complexity to their music. And what's cool about this record is it's a concept record telling a really cool, fantastical story that's really fun to explore and really well written. The lyrics on this are just supremely well done, and it's like poetry, and it's really expressive, and it's easy to unravel this cool folk tale as you go about the album. So it's a fun part of the experience. The story is about the titular Mr. Bogd and his experience kind of running away from his life. He's a man of wealth, an affluent person who's just finding his life unsatisfying, so he kind of escapes and runs into these kind of fantastical characters as he's escaping from his life, and a lot of interesting twists and turns. Takes place basically in a setting similar to late 19th century Europe. The band describes it as a blissful blend of road movie, classic saga, buddy movie, and adventure epic set in an imaginary land. And the music sets the stage for this in a perfect manner. There's 10 tracks here. It goes by pretty quickly. It's a fairly short record, but every moment really stands out. Every track has something to really grab hold of that is really exciting and interesting. I reminded structurally of other similar concept records like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway from Genesis. I'm even thinking more recently of Similitude of a Dream by Neil Morse Band, where maybe not musically totally in line with them, but I think structurally where it tells a very clear narrative, and each track is like a different scene in this story that's being explored and played out. The lineup of the band itself, we've got Patrick Lundstrom, who does the vocals and guitar, a fantastic lead man. He also sings with Kaipa, so you could hear him on the latest Kaipa record as well. John Gamble is on keyboards, harmonium, harmonica, and vocals. Frederick Lindqvist is on bass, bouzouki, mandolin, and flutes. And we've got Johan Nordgren on drums and percussion. At least that's how it's listed on Prog Archives. Fantastic lineup of musicians, each one shining in their own particular way. Really love it. Album begins with a hasty departure, which starts with some really cool overture of interesting strings. The band enters with a quirky but driving beat. It kind of reminds me of classic Gentle Giant. Love the folky feel. There's kind of this almost Haunted Mansion-esque organ, bringing a little bit of a off-kilter air to the situation. And we get a cool vocal spotlight with acoustic guitar and a folky atmosphere leading to some very pleasant flute soloing towards the end. The Inn of the Haunted Owl continues this folky feel with some delightful acoustic guitar picking and pleasing vocal melodies over shuffling percussions. Love the haunting nature of the wailing vocals and keyboards as the song progresses and as we get into the chorus line. This is about like an owl that's been shackled and caged in this inn that they arrive at. And Mr. Bogd is able to basically free this owl from his cage and gets a token in gratitude for this act of a golden feather that he can utilize down the road to get help when he needs it. So kind of setting up the story, setting up, like I said, Mr. Bogd leaving town and on his way discovering these fantastical characters and moments that really dictate his journey in the storyline. Dreams in Bugum is really a beautiful track, beautiful string work and acoustic guitar picking. There's some flute spotlighted as well. It's just a really great interlude of sorts as you're exploring the landscape, and I think it's really well done in that regard. Just a beautiful instrumental. Chichikov Bogd is next, which is a bit of a flashback scene. This is a track that's been released prior to the release of the album. Wonderful vocals and acoustic guitar before the keyboards rumble in, once again bringing mind to Gentle Giant with a really cool driving beat, some cool catchy rock chorus, supremely proggy, and there's a quirky instrumental break that's really complex and satisfying. Brings to mind all the best of Gentle Giant, complex and off kilter, but still very tuneful and very catchy to the ear as well. This is a really great expressive track that showcases the best of the album, and I like how it's centered right in the beginning and kind of showcases the main character's background and backstory and what led him to the decisions that are taking place on the album in question. Mr. Tillan and His Gang is a fairly short, funky, kind of circusy type song with like carnival music, like a twisted, broken carnival kind of sound, which is really cool, introducing another cast of characters to the equation. Through a Rural Landscape is fantastic. Some great piano playing with keyboard atmosphere, light percussion. It's a really great instrumental. Another interlude. I like how they insert these like really expansive, cool interludes into the mix to kind of give the listener a break and to lead them to the next part of the story. The Feline Companion is another cool character piece about this old woman who's destitute and struggling, who happens to have a cat, and that's pretty much the only thing that she has going for her, and Mr. Bogd is able to give her money and help her out. And once again, we get callbacks to that Inn of the Haunted Owl where he's helping out a character, and there's this promise of like, this character can come back to help you later on in your journey, which will be interesting to see if these callbacks come up back in the story. But yeah, interesting story-wise and really cool instrumentally as well, and brings about a lot of character into the story. Read All About It is one of my favorite tracks, one of the more rocking, more like exciting tracks. Really cool, like it brings to mind a hybrid of like classic Gentle Giant and Yes. There's a cool driving bass line throughout the track. Love the townspeople type chorus. You know, this is basically exploring back into the town and people figuring out the news of Mr. Bogd's disappearance, and you get this kind of like counterpoint Gentle Giant-y round of townspeople vocals towards the end as they're discovering this news, and it's really cool and quirky, and I really love it. Then we get a beautiful ballad, Forgotten Qualities. Starts with nature sounds and a bubbling brook and sweetly played acoustic guitar, and you get these like beautiful sumptuous melodies that come into the forefront and lead to this really swelling harmony vocals that really bring about a glorious finale to this track. It's really majestic and a beautiful, special moment in the track list. I think it's expertly placed and is a beautiful respite from the cool, like, quirky, soundscapes that you've heard before this track. And then it closes out with the Three Heads of the Well, which is some folky minstrel type music with almost an otherworldly Eastern type feel to it, very dark and mystical, leaving the listener on kind of a strange cliffhanger of this fantastical situation in this well with these three heads coming to tell Mr. Bogd that he has to go back. And it's really interesting and a really quirky way to leave off the story. And the hope is that part 2 comes out in the not too distant future and kind of completes this epic tale. But for the first part, this is a really fantastic release that showcases a great storyline with great music behind it. If you like classic prog, if with a little bit of a folk feel, if you like the cool symphonic prog of the 2000s like Kaipa and the Flower Kings, this is a no-brainer as well. And if you love concept records and cool fantastical stories that are told expertly well with music, I think this is a great piece to listen to and really adds to the great canon of progressive rock concept albums. So really excited for you guys to listen to this. It officially releases this Friday for you guys to hear it on whatever platform you listen on. It should be available there for you. And I really highly recommend it. If you like the same kind of music as me, it's somewhat of a no-brainer. It's one of my favorite records of the year, bar none. And it showcases that charisma is at the top of the game right now. They're just fantastic. And music from this part of the world, Norway, Sweden, they're killing it. This is where some of the best prog is being created nowadays. So please explore this. Hopefully you'll enjoy it like I do. And I hope to catch you in a future episode. Thank you, everybody. See you later.